I'm gonna do a message without pulling any cards. There's something here about being a container of unconditional love. If you're part of this collective, you've been through a lot of things. I'm seeing the Ten of Swords imagery of somebody laying on the ground with 10 swords plunged out of their back. And I'm seeing the Seven of Swords from the White Newman Tarot, where somebody has a home where a man is standing and he is... It's weird because the imagery behind him is very red and white, and it's very interesting. There's like one sword, and it's like there's some kind of betrayal here, self-betrayal, lying to self, something about keeping secrets from yourself, something about manipulating yourself. Making yourself believe that you have to be one certain way or that you have to act in a certain way in order to get to where you want to go, but no. You've already learned the lessons. You've already gone through the cycles, you've already gone through the struggles, and what you have found is that you need to close your heart, but it's just the opposite. You need to open it. The lessons that you learned were not supposed to teach you of how horrible people are, but of how hurt is inevitable. Hurt is unavoidable. Hurt is not earned, and it is not deserved. It's just part of life. And it's not something to avoid, it's not something to be scared of, it's not something to find disdain within. If anything, there's a lot of appreciation that can come from pain. Where are you in pain right now? When you want to close off your heart, you need to ask yourself the question, where are you in pain? Because that's the only reaction that a closed heart comes from, pain. So where are you hurting? Where are you struggling to accept love? Where are you struggling to allow love in? And where are you struggling to allow love to pour out from you? Unconditional love. You need to be a container of unconditional love, and it can look like anything. It can look like anything. You're the one that has to decide what that looks like. What does unconditional love look like to you? What is unconditional love to you? Because just because it's called unconditional love does not mean that it comes without conditions. You're the one that sets those parameters. But the real question is, what kind of parameters are you building? Are you building a box so that it cannot be seen unless you as the individual open it up for it to be seen? Or is it a cup so that it can overflow and be full to the brim, and it can be held and it can be passed and it can be shared? Or is it a star where it is constantly burning, constantly shining, constantly moving, constantly transiting, or constantly standing, dead but alive? Thank you. You need to ask yourself the questions of how you really want to be showing up and how you want to be seen. 444 on the timer. And you need to ask yourself how you're going to offer yourself to the world. Because you are a gift. Every person is a gift. Do not listen to what other people have to say. Listen to what you have to say. You can listen to readers. You can listen to guidance. You can read books. You can listen to podcasts. You can watch movies. You can watch shows. You can listen to music. You can listen to the earth. You can listen to leaves blowing in the wind. You can listen to wind chimes, and you can get messages from every single one of those things, but the only one that's going to ring absolutely true within yourself is the one that you find within yourself. You have to listen to yourself. Find the truth that exists within you, first and foremost. In this time, there is something very strange going on with collectives. Very mutable in a tar way, not a gum way. It's blackening. It's darkening. And when you constantly consume something over and over and over and over again, well, the things that you're consuming are getting darker and darker and darker, and what you once knew as sweet bubblegum of validation is turning into black tar, and it's sealing your jaw shut, preventing you from finding your own truth and speaking your own truth. So, what is it? What is your truth? Share it. Comment it. Share it. Comment it. Share it. Comment it. Journal it. Share it. Because the only way, 654 on the timer, that any of this darkness is going to be competed against or diluted back to something that isn't so dark and chewy and gluey, and I'm hearing cementing, is if you continuously pour the sugar that is your truth, your unconditional love of your circumstances, of who you are, of where you wish to go, of your dreams, of your reality that you are currently creating and building at this very moment. That's the only way it'll never stick. Did you know a way to ruin 10 tons of cement is by pouring 2 pounds worth of sugar into the mix? It'll never solidify. It'll never harden. That's what this collective needs. It needs individual truth. Individual truth. You need individual truth. Right now, today, tomorrow, every day, you need to know your truth. And you need to stay true to that truth. Because every vessel is going to look different. So what kind of vessel are you going to carry forward? You could be a box, you could be a cup, you could be a star, you could be a flower, you can be an umbrella, you could be headphones, you could be a crystal, you could be a cloud, you could be a tree. All of these things contain love in some way, shape, or form. You just have to start finding that love. And you have to start figuring out how you want it to be held within you and how you are going to put it out. The world needs your sugar. The world needs your truth. Trust me on that. Spirit is asking me to read poetry that I've written. I don't even know if it's on my computer, but I guess we're going to find out together. 9/18, that's my birthday. Oh, it's on here. Okay. They just want me to read this off, so I will, okay? This is something that I wrote many years ago, and it's the beginning of an autobiography. When I was little, I had a dream. It wasn't anything big. It wasn't like any dream the other kids around me dreamed of. They'd dream of touching the stars, of building cars, making houses into homes, and kissing the cheeks of their mom or their dad. A girl dreamed of being president, and a boy told me he wanted to draw anime. All wonderfully sweet, ambitious dreams. Amazing dreams. Not mine, though. No, you see, when I dreamed that I would have the worst case of head lice ever recorded to mankind. It's funny. I think back on it now and I can't fathom a child thinking of such a thing. And yet, I still believe that somewhere in me is that same little me whispering and crying, but I'd still do it. I'd still do it 1,000,000 times over. I knew the reason why, like so many of you are asking, but it's not an answer any of us are going to be happy with. Not really. And yet it was so true to me. So true to the soft and tender heart every child has, every person has. It was the only thing that made any sense to me. I may not have known how anything worked, as many of us deal with when we're born, but I knew in my chest when it was something I wanted. I could feel it, deep down. This dream was something I really wanted. I dreamed that someday, at some point, I would have all the lice in the universe crawling on my head, all piled up like a huge balloon. I dreamed I'd be covered and I'd dip my head in a nice steaming hot bath, burning hot, scathingly hot, so that I could cook them alive in a giant tub of lice soup. Then there'd be no more lice. No more scalp scratching pain for children or adults around the world, and the way I would have successfully helped every person in the world getting rid of something that only ever causes us stress and discomfort. I was willing to endure the most horrific stress and discomfort for everyone, just as a child. People never really ask the child that's helpful or consistent how they are. A harsh reality, a despicable one, really. Why is it that the cruelest, most disrespectful, and hateful kids get the most attention? Their little souls get to soak up all of their love and attention, while us givers are thrown to the side, hooked up to tubes and wires, sucking out our veins dry of compassion or understanding, taking away everything that makes you, everything that we have to hand out to others like candy, to dry you of everything that makes you feel good, makes you feel like you, until you finally learn that asking why will only ever earn you more punishment. It's a dark, dark world for lovers. The kids who just want to see the world actually happy and connected and peaceful. The folk who will spend the rest of their lives running from who they are to fit in these stupidly painful boxes. I can barely find any will to even sit in them anymore. Truly, if I could go back in time, I wonder if I would talk myself out of that dream. I wonder if I would tell myself that it is not only is it a fool's errand, but why do you feel as though you must sacrifice so much for so many, only to be given so much less than you deserve? My inner child was one of fear, of sadness, hiding away in shadows that continues to swell inside of me until the mess of darkness is much too big for our tiny bodies to endure. I feel as though I'm going to burst into thousands of pieces, shattering every lesson and understanding of the world I've ever had, all because I couldn't have a head full of lies. Because I believed that as long as I did something worthwhile, maybe I can fall in love. Maybe I can find full acceptance somewhere. Maybe I'd be celebrated and considered. Spoilers, I didn't. Maybe that's because I never got the lice. I still don't. For the first time in my life, I spent my 21st birthday party too inebriated to cry. All of the ones before were full of my tears. I have yet to celebrate my life even once in the many years of my existence. I feel robbed, like I was meant to get the world and more, full of promises and sweets and kisses, unlike any of the love I'd ever experienced in my life, an actual, real love. But we've fallen short. I mean, it's quite laughable how hopeless one can feel after decades of hate. All it took was one sentence, a few words to change the entire trajectory of my life, one projection, one that I'm still undoing the repercussions of to this day, a projection of lack, an inherent belief that there's something somewhere inside of me that's failing, something that's not doing enough, or saying enough, or fighting enough, or paying enough, or resting enough, or loving enough. Enough, enough, enough. I've worked so hard to be enough my entire life that the world looks like scribbled jargon now. It's crazy how quickly a person will wilt under the pressure of their own mind. How fast we realize that maybe we aren't enough. Maybe no matter what we do, where we go, we die worth less than when we were born. I don't want to believe that. I don't want to believe it for a second. But when you're fed one kind of mindset, it's hard to not adopt. Maybe it doesn't need to be like this. Maybe we don't need to live in a world where our worth is given to us. We don't need to be worthy. What if we just are? I mean, no one comes here on accident, but it's also not a choice. When you're here, you're here. No one has to hold you accountable for your life but yourself. Yet when we live and breathe and exist together, giving each other looks and words and food and community, we're accountable to life together. And we thrive. And we create and exist in a way that benefits all, that benefits the masses. But we struggle to live in that kind of society. No matter how hard my heart yearns for community, I'm starting to really believe that I won't find it within anyone but myself. This book, this autobiography, this is where I started. It's very dark, very scary, very sad places that no one wants to go, no one wants to think about, no one wants to be part of, places that they want to leave behind, the shadow periods in which every single one of us has to live through in order to get to this point of love, in order to get to that point of light, right? At this point, my vessel had broken. It had cracked, fallen apart. And at the point I'm at now, I couldn't be farther from the truth. Actually, I think I've sealed up my vessel so well that I struggle to share any of what lives inside of it. And so I guess this is the first time I'm really sharing something that's lived inside of it. And it's dark and chewy and tarry. But I'm going to tell you another truth. I have never learned to love greater than going through these periods of hurt. I have never learned to embrace myself more than going through these periods of hurt, and I've never learned to care for myself more than going through these periods of hurt. The sugar, it doesn't have to be love and light. The sugar is just the truth. And the truth of me is that I have struggled my entire life with overgiving and under-receiving. And I have never wanted to admit that truth into my reality out of fear of solidifying it as my truth, but it's not my truth. It is just a truth. My truth is that I love to give. I love to serve. I love to give to this world. And I will continue to do so until the day that I die, not for any other reason than the fact that I love it. I love it. And I will always love it. I need you to collect yourself. I need you to collect yourself. Not these stories. Not the story of your life, but instead the truth that has overcome it all and stayed through it all throughout the entire process of you living. That's what we want. That's what we need. You need to share. and you need to express, and you need to give. Not just your ideas, your thoughts, your feelings, but you. You need to give yourself to the world, and you get to pick how. So, how are you going to give yourself to the world? And what is that going to look like? Take your time. Distance yourself from the darkness that the collective is currently consuming. Not out of fear, but to save yourself from consuming something that will prevent you from sharing your truth. Thank you for being here, collective. I love you and I appreciate you very much. Your truth lies somewhere in here. Somewhere where you are not seeing it. Somewhere where your inner child wants to be seen. Somewhere where your truth can coincide with the light and the darkness that exists within you. You don't need to run from them. You need to accept them and allow them to permeate your entire being until it pushes out through your throat into the words that you've been needing to share this entire time. I love you, angels. Thank you for being here and for bearing with me while I shared this story and share this message. I love you very much, and I hope I will see you in the next reading.